Well, hello. I'm glad being here for a second video, where we go behind the scenes of images, symbols and emblems that surround us all the time. For the subject of today, I got inspired by a question that tourists or foreigners keep asking me when I go for a walk with them in my hometown, Bordeaux, like around the square of the Cathedral and Town Hall that you are seeing right now on the footage. As my hosts know, I love heraldry and explaining pictures. There are many to ask. Could you explain to us the meaning of Bordeaux's arms? Yeah, I'm super pleased to answer to that as you expect. So, this is the reason why I wanted to tell you this story today, because I also think about the ones who live in Bordeaux, France, or any Bordelais that would be glad to know more. Because, guys, as there are many representations of these arms in town, in front of which you can pass ahead, I want you to watch them. I want you to care for what they mean and what they have to tell you. So, expect to have quite a few in situ pictures of these armored ornaments that have to tickle your curiosity. So, for all these reasons, I want to make this video like a tool in order to answer to the never-ending issue of explaining the emblem of Bordeaux to any stranger. And to do so, I'm going to comment item by item the elements that compose the emblem in order of importance. All along the analysis, I'm going to show an array of examples that can be seen in our town, from diverse supports, but every time with fine examples or cases that tell us something great. Well, without further ado, we first comment the fortress. Actually, what you see here is a real landmark, a landmark that still exists in the town. One of the rare monuments that is a middle-aged testimony in the city. It is a belfry from the 13th century. Originally, it was flanked by two other towers that disappeared, but are still present in the crest. Nowadays, we mostly call it La Grosse Cloche, the Big Bell. At the origins, it was called La Porte Saint-André because of the name of the church where the walls are embedded in, Saint-Éloi. Éloi? In English, it's Saint Eligius, the patron saint of farriers and silversmiths, among other things. This piece of fortification can be seen as the monumental personification of the city. I mean, if you're asked to say, what is this fortress? You can affirm it's the town, and at the same time, La Grosse Cloche, the monument itself. It can be both, like a metonymy. I mean, like the Eiffel Tower is Paris, like the White House is Washington DC, etc. Despite the fact it doesn't look like the Big Bell of present time, well, it is. The committee which designed the most recent version of these arms didn't want to make it look like the contemporary Big Bell because they wanted a more generic and timeless pattern. Contrary to the recommendation of an erudite called Maurice MEAUDRE de la POUYADE, who argued for a realistic representation of the Big Bell in order to highlight the might of this building in Bordeaux's history. Here you're seeing his proposal. See how it's closed to the shot with pointed towers and the actual one raised? Oh, by the way, I really have to tell you who is this famous erudite who wrote the most advanced writing about the arms of Bordeaux. He was a man that truly marked his time. Lawyer, erudite, eclectic author, and even a sportsman with great skills in fencing and, brace yourself, weightlifting. Behold our athlete. This picture is from a magazine of 1908. Personally, I'm so impressed. So, this man wrote this essay and influenced the municipality to reconsider the emblem, which was officially undefined until 1913. Then, the Commission preferred not to listen to him by using a generic and anonymous bastion. For instance, the presence of a third tower that we know didn't exist at the origins at the center was rejected. That's why it's never the very same shape between the monument and its heraldic representations, except for this proposal. Well, I think we're done for the fortress. We are arriving to the leopard section. The leopard, or should I maybe say, the lion. Indeed, the heraldic term for this quadruped is leopard. In heraldry, the leopard is by tradition depicted the same as a lion but in a walking position. Leopard stands for this, lion stands for that, but in reality, if you're just quoting the denomination that is used for describing the blazon, leopards can be lions. This is only the start of a tricky question, because there are many different theories about the apparition of the leopard in heraldry and its meaning and the fact it is not a leopard but a lion, something of which so much has been spoken and written. But why is it such a mess? Because English royal arms changed things. As the nickname of England football team suggested, 3 lions. There are no leopards anymore. Leopards are taken for lions. Indeed, this quadruped is no longer called leopard, but is called lion quadrant passant. But why? Apparently, some sources say that the zoologists of antiquity and Middle Ages thought the leopard was the fruit of the coupling of a lioness and a male panther. Yeah, male panther had a negative and pagan sense, and when English heralds realized this impure aspect of the animal that is present in royal arms at the origins, when they realized it was associated with the English crown, they had to change it. They had to turn these contentious leopards into great lions, because this kingly animal, the lion, has a prominent role, meaning in Christian symbolism. This is one theory. I won't tell you the other explanations about this ambiguous case, but you might hear opposed sources. Well, the leopard that concerns us, le Leopard Bordelais, is precisely the Leopard of England, because Bordeaux was under English domination for 3 centuries. After the conquest of French kingdom in 1453, the number of lions was reduced from 3 to 1. If you go to the Musée d'Aquitaine, you'll find a wonderfully rare piece of stained glass windows that has the former 3 lions emblem. One of them was the lion of the Province de Guyenne, gained by the English. The remaining lion in contemporary arms of Bordeaux should not be the leopard of Guyenne. It's more faithful to say that the leopard is a vestige of England domination. It can't only be the leopard of Guyenne that was already incorporated in the 3 lions' arms. And, well, in all cases, it is the official version told by the City Council of Bordeaux, the one that you can find on the official website that obeys to the theories of our strong man, Maurice MEAUDRE de la POUYADE. Finally, note that at the top of the Grosse Cloche, the weather vane reproduces the heraldic layout, where the leopard sits on the top of the gable. Well, it's the same as in reality, where the leopard sits on the fortress too. But, to me, a question remains about the leopard weather vane. Was it reproduced from the original blazon, inspired by the heraldic sketch? Or is it the blazon that imitates this real leopard weather vane that was maybe here from the origins? Now we have reached the third part about the Fleur de Lys. Fleur de Lys is obviously a mark that says that King of France rules over the city. The first known illustration of this upper part, that we call in heraldry a chief, dates back to 1519. After the French conquered the territory, the leopard had its rightful place at a very symbolical location underneath Fleur de Lys. It means between France and over Bordeaux, so that the lion tails its past reign over the city but is crushed by the Kingdom of France. You might think it is only symbolical to the fact that King of France conquered Bordeaux and wanted to memorialize this seizing. Well, you can say it that way to simplify, but it can't be the only reason. It goes beyond that because the special chief azure with Fleur de Lys is a royal concession. It is granted as a special favor to the good cities of France. It is absolutely not considered irrelevantly. It means that the cities, in exchange to some duties and fidelity to the kingdom, benefited from privileges and protection of the king. Bordeaux does appear in this list, and is the same for many other French towns like La Rochelle, Limoges, Lyon, Reims, Rouen, Toulouse, Paris. The fourth section is about the lower part of the emblem, the waters and the crescent. The crescent refers to the shape of the harbour of Bordeaux. We name it the Port of the Moon, le Port de la Lune, a designation that dates back to antiquity. Let me show you the crescent in question. It is actually this strip of river that is 5 kilometers long if you calculate here from one tip to the opposite. And when you're walking around the quays, every time you have in sight the curve of the moon. Additionally, this section brings me to comment an omnipresent city ornament. This, the three interlaced crescents. We call them les petites armoiries, and they appeared during the 17th century. You know, there are a few comments in the sources about it, which make things quite unclear. But amongst several beliefs, the mayor, Alain Juppé, dedicates to this sign an article in his last book, Le Dictionnaire amoureux de Bordeaux. He mentions that each crescent is a curve of the meander of the river Garonne, where was settled the harbour. And you can hear other beliefs that say that there were 3 ports in Bordeaux as well. So maybe it has something to say with the story of the curves of the meander of the river. Alright, after the fluvial getaway, let's go to the 5th section. That includes everything that is outside the shield, and that we call in heraldry the external ornaments, like supporters that are antelopes, the motto, and the mural crown with crenellation that is specific to cities as its name suggests it. The antelopes are also a vestige of English identity. As supporters, antelopes are in use in France, whereas they seem to be popular in England. For instance, the city of Manchester and some families use it. To our knowledge in France, there is no other example like Bordeaux for antelope supporters. And the fact that they're in chains with royal Fleur de Lys makes total sense. I mean, this is a reluctant beast that was reduced to captivity by a royal power. Right now, you may wonder something. It doesn't look like any antelope. Well, I know that an antelope is this. But here, it is a pattern defined and kept by the heraldic tradition. It is not really a naturalistic animal, but the idea, a traditional picturation of an animal at a certain time. Antelope, in this context, is a fictitious beast with serrated antlers, tufts of hair, the tail of a unicorn, and often tusks. Besides, you may find naturalistic antelopes as supporters, but they are typical of African heraldry where it is a common animal. What makes the antelopes of Bordeaux so unique is that they do not look like the heraldic English antelopes. Indeed, they are inspired from a high-relief sculpture of the 16th century. Absolutely. The official and contemporary arms of Bordeaux, the ones that you can see on the flag waving over the town hall and on this image, this one, is actually a version that was designed in May 1913. A commission decided to settle on the question of what is the official and definitive emblem of Bordeaux, because there were in the past many unclear variations, pushing the committee to say, well, what do we need to keep and what do we need to remove? So they adjusted some details of the drawing. They used as model arms on a stone that was found in the Fort Saint-Louis in Bordeaux. And compared to other armored sources, this is the document that satisfied the commission for its execution, accuracy, and historical value. The Latin motto is just the literal caption of the story told by the blazon. Lilia solaregunt lunam unda castra leonem. Namely, the lilies alone reign over the moon, the waves, the fortress, and the lion. That is to say, French kingdom prevails over the English, over the moon, and its symbols. Before any conclusion, I really have to show you something by making a final stop in front of the town hall. It is where you might pass ahead and explain at your turn the emblem to someone. At the origins, it was the residence of the archbishops. It was ordered by one of them, Ferdinand Maximilien Mériadec de Rohan. When he arrived as the new Archbishop of Bordeaux in 1769, he brought down the ancient residence because it was too shabby, too miserable for his rank, as he stated. And in order to fund a new episcopal palace, he executed real estate transactions because he sold portions of his land properties, many of them. Just know that during the Ancien Régime, archbishops were part of the biggest property owners of the town. So, as I said, he sold some, and it explains why nowadays the borough of Mériadec is called that way. Mériadec, it's the middle name of the archbishop. And surprising fact is that we're pretty certain that the prelate who ordered this palace had never lived in it. It was finished after he left the siege of Bordeaux, because he was nominated at the Archdiocese of Cambrai, where the incomes were more important, amongst other reasons. Is there any remaining trace of the archbishop on the contemporary monument? At first sight, it turns out there is none. Actually, there is a tiny one. If you bypass the building and see the other pediment, with good eyes or a good zoom, you can find arms of the archbishop. The pediment shows the allegory of liberality, giving coins, and a genie that hatches arms of the family de Rohan, one of the most powerful families of French history, by the way. The facility became the town hall in 1935. It is the reason why city coat of arms ornate the lintel. But this is a recent version. An older one from 1835 can be seen on an etching and on some photographs. This version has something different compared to the original. I'm talking about the chief azure with Fleur de Lys. It is replaced by another chief, that is the French flag. Indeed, this version of the emblem was used in the second quarter of the 19th century and until the very end of the 19th century. It is symptomatical of an era where a French flag established itself at the expense of monarchic ideas. As the chief was composed with Fleur de Lys, you're capable to understand it was removed. If you want to tell this story, note that the poles of the Town Hall Park are all marked with such signs, which, by the way, gives a dating slot to its support. What about this crest sculpture at the front? It was realized in the second part of the 20th century. It was redone, maybe because it wasn't updated with the new version of the city arms. Indeed, it turned obsolete at this time because of the lack of Fleur de Lys and the bad position of the leopard that has to appear full face and not in profile, otherwise it's an heraldic lion. Before being a town hall, it didn't have city arms, as it was the residence of archbishops. The crest of the archbishop was destroyed during French Revolution in 1791. It was the fate of many public coats of arms that were mistakenly assimilated to an idea of feudality. They were hated by the revolutionaries because they were the embodiment of nobility and powerfulness. Do we have any picture of these ancient archbishopic arms? Yes, I've just seen one picture showing at this place the famous ecclesiastical hat, the one that is broad-brimmed and we call galero. It's on a plate in a museum of Bordeaux, le Musée des Arts Décoratifs et du Design, which by the way is here, very close to the town hall. Go have a look inside. It sets its collection in a private mansion of the 18th century that is a true showcase for the recreation of the lifestyle during this era. In one room, the famous plate is exhibited and we do see the hat of the archbishop. To me, it sounds like a very, very important document. To end, after the comment of each part of the emblem, I hope you understand its meaning and how it sums up the history of the town being like the rebus of its identity. I hope you perceive how this emblem changed through time, caught up in the fluctuations of history. Have you felt how heraldry can be talkative for many reasons? It enlightens aspects of everyday representations, as we are surrounded by this material on our local monuments. So, I hope this little guide, unexhaustive and condensed, will help some of you. This is François-Rémy Roqueton, PhD student, and I see you all for another adventure on the tracks of images. Peace out everyone, and look up, wonders await. Bye.